Could Donald Trump's inauguration as the 47th and 45th President of the United States be blocked? Well, look, a roadmap for this was laid out in a recent op-ed in The Hill, written by two attorneys, and it uses the 14th Amendment of the Constitution as its main tool. If that sounds familiar, it's because that was also the method they tried using to block Trump from running for president, as you might remember. It didn't work. But now attorneys Evan Davis and David Schulte, they're writing that Congress can use this strategy to prevent Trump from taking office. Now look, briefly, a bit of background. You might remember this was attempted before. There were local lawsuits in different parts of the U.S. People tried doing it. It wasn't everyone, but people did try doing it. A lawsuit in Colorado tried making Donald Trump ineligible to run for president, and it used Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. The case was Trump v. Anderson. It made its way all the way up to the U.S. Supreme Court, and the argument was that because Donald Trump had been impeached by Congress, as you might remember, for, quote, incitement of insurrection, that under that he cannot become president. In March of 2024, the Supreme Court made a unanimous decision in this. All 9 Supreme Court justices determined that the state of Colorado did not have the authority to stop Trump from running for office, meaning a local lawsuit like that could not block a candidate. But here's the technicality with it, right? Because there was a bit more to it. That Supreme Court decision determined the powers to block Trump from becoming president under the 14th Amendment. It lies with Congress. So a state can't do it, but Congress can. And it's this power in Congress that some are now pushing as an attempt to prevent Donald Trump from being inaugurated. Now, let me show you this, folks. This is The Hill. This is the opinion piece from these attorneys. It says the Constitution provides that an oath-breaking insurrectionist is ineligible to be president. This is the plain wording of Section 3 of the 14th Amendment of the Constitution. Quote, no person shall hold any office, civil or military, under the United States or under any state who, having previously taken an oath to support the Constitution of the United States, shall have engaged in insurrection or rebellion against the same, or given aid or comfort to the enemies thereof. It notes this disability can be removed by a 2/3 vote in each house. And that's where it's going to get hard, because guess what? You have to get Congress to vote in 2/3 to block Trump from being president. And even though this is being presented, at least in an opinion piece, the chances that even all the Democrats would be involved, they're already saying they're not going to do it, let alone a good number of Republicans, meaning this is very likely dead in the water. They are talking about this as an agenda, but it's not going to have the support they probably need to do it. There might be a few people on board. It's probably not nearly enough, just being clear on this. Now, these attorneys go on to note their legal argument for Congress to prevent Trump from becoming president. And this is in light of the Supreme Court ruling I just mentioned. They state that counting the Electoral College votes is a matter uniquely assigned to Congress by the Constitution. Under well-settled law, this fact deprives the Supreme Court of a voice in the matter, because the rejection of the vote on constitutionally specified grounds is a non-reviewable political question. It rests in Congress, right? And they also state that the Electoral College Count Act of 1887, which was amended in 2022, you might remember Trump was accused of trying to pressure Pence to overturn the vote. They actually changed the law to make it so the vice president cannot do that, because on January 6, when Congress, again, goes and they count the Electoral College votes and they affirm the election, the vice president is the one who opens those envelopes. The argument during January 6 in 2020 was that the vice president can make the choice to count the dueling elector votes or the normal elector votes. And they actually amended the Electoral Count Act of 1887 to make it so the vice president does not have the power to just overturn the election. Meaning that on January 6th, coming up very soon, Kamala Harris is vice president. Even she has not said she would do this, but she would not have the power to do what Trump was accused of trying to do with Pence. Now, they note again that the Electoral Count Act of 1887 lays out the procedure for a situation just like this, and they state, disqualification for engaging in insurrection is no different from disqualification based on other constitutional requirements such as age, citizenship from birth, and 14 years of residency in the United States. Now look, folks, in my own take, the irony with this proposal, the idea that you would try to make Congress vote in 2/3 to overturn the election using the 14th Amendment, given the fact that again, the Supreme Court did vote unanimously or determine unanimously that this power does in fact rest in Congress, meaning technically the powers are there, the idea that you need 2/3 of them to basically overturn the most popular president, he did win the popular vote, it's probably not going to happen. There's almost a 0% chance this is going to happen. Democrats have even publicly stated they are not on board with it. But look, in my own take, the irony of this proposal is that if anyone did try to do it, it's basically urging members of Congress to do the same thing that Trump was accused of and impeached for. That if they did this, they would be basically decertifying the election on the same grounds that Trump was accused of doing and they are now doing. It's kind of a bit of brutal irony in that regard. Remember, Trump was impeached over the accusation they tried getting dueling electors to change the outcome of the election, tried pressuring Pence, and they create this big conspiracy suggesting January 6th and everything else, and the investigations into fraud. It was all tied into one giant conspiracy leading up to January 6th when he wanted Pence to just choose which votes to count, and that was the giant plot. That's the narrative again, and that was the grounds on which they impeached him. Were Congress to basically not certify the election for Trump and overturn it, using, ironically, the same process on January 6th, they would be committing the same act that Trump was impeached for, ironically, just through different means. The idea that Congress would be doing this would actually take it a step further. They'd even be going against the Electoral College because they don't have dueling electors. And that would take a whole new level to this wild ride we've been on for the last few years. Folks, we'll have to see whether this proposal gains any traction. As of now, the Hill piece kind of fell on deaf ears. It was deeply criticized. Again, it was an opinion piece, right? It was deeply criticized by many Trump supporters. Democrats have not shown any signs they support it. President Biden has stood by his promise so far for a smooth transition of power. He's not suggesting he's going to take any actions. In fact, he just left for vacation. Democrats in Congress have openly declared they have no intent to object to Trump's victory or to him becoming the next president. They're not trying to block him. They're saying that they will certify the election. They're not taking any action that would make it look like they're going to do this. And again, they would need 2/3 vote. That would mean you'd need every single Democrat and a lot of Republicans to vote against Trump and to do this. The chances of this are slim to none.